The question is that this bill be now read its second time, and I call the member for Forrest.
A child's innocence is precious. Each one of us needs to protect that innocence, both online and offline. This bill, the Criminal Code Amendment Protecting Minors Online Bill, is a very important part of this government's efforts to help protect children online. The bill is colloquially known as Carly's Law and stems from the tragic death of Carly Ryan, who was 15 and started chatting online with Brandon Kane, who claimed to be an 18-year-old musician from Melbourne with similar interests to her. During 18 months of online contact and phone calls, Carly fell in love with Brandon. But there was no Brandon Kane, just a 50-year-old predator and pedophile, Gary Francis Newman, who was pretending to be Brandon Kane. He eventually convinced Carly to meet him on a secluded beach at Port Elliot in South Australia. He assaulted and suffocated Carly, then threw her in the water to drown. When detectives found Newman, he was online as Brandon Kane once again, talking with a 14-year-old girl in my state of Western Australia. Newman was sentenced to life in prison. In her sentencing remarks, the judge said Gary Newman deserves a life behind bars for his grossly perverted plan to deceive, seduce and murder Carly. It was a terribly cruel thing you did to this beautiful, impressionable 15-year-old child. I say child because that's what she was, a child that fell in love with the idea of the handsome, musically inclined and rather exotic Brandon Kane, the persona you created. The real man was in fact an overweight, balding, middle-aged pedophile with sex and murder on his mind. Carly's mother, Sonia, does not want any other child or parent to suffer as she and Carly did. She formed and incorporated the Carly Ryan Foundation to raise awareness in children, teens and young adults about the risks of various online mediums, chat rooms and social networking sites where people like Gary Newman operate. Now, the internet is the most fabulous tool for most of the 3.4 billion people who use it, but we need to know how to protect our children from Gary Newman and other online predators and pedophiles. I was concerned to read that there was a 47-year-old man charged with child sex offences online involving 28 children, grooming them online, offering children money even, from kids all over the country, including in my state of Western Australia. The AFP in that article said that online child exploitation increased by 54% in the last 12 months. Now, the online predators are the ones who wait and watch Facebook pages and other social media sites for potential victims. They are those who groom and manipulate children online, and they do everything they can to gain that child's trust. They offer gifts, as we heard, money, free iTunes cards, a free phone, one that mum and dad don't know about. Other gifts to create the sense of obligation in the child. They ask them how old they are, where they live, and they make comments that you are cute, you are sexy, I care about you more than anyone else in your life. I love your pictures. The offender will ask the child for more photos and may then even send them provocative or sexually graphic photos, telling the child to hide them away, perhaps in a decoy app like the secret calculator. They ask whether the child or children can stay away from home overnight, whether they can keep a secret. And at some point, they will ask to meet in real life. Like Gary Newman, they will create a fake online profile with fake photos. They'll appear to have similar interests to the child. They may seek to use a fake ID to join perhaps something like Kik messaging groups. I suspect others will create fake identities to use Facebook's Life Stage, a video sharing social media app aimed at young people under 21. I understand that to start an account you only need your phone number, and every video children post is fully public. There are other apps like Spot-a-Friend using GPS locators which allow young people to connect with strangers. Well, this is Tinder for teens. Tinder, of course, being the dating app. Yellow is another app that uses GPS locators to connect teens with strangers. It's used by more than 5 million teens globally, a prime hunting ground, I would think, for online pedophiles. These continuous and rapidly evolving technologies, the anonymity that the internet provides, have resulted in unprecedented opportunities for the harm and exploitation, sexual exploitation of children. In 2015, the government passed the Enhancing Online Safety for Children Act, creating the Office of the Children's E-Safety Commissioner, a one-stop shop for online safety, to report everything from serious cyberbullying. There are resources for educators, parents as well, the reporting of illegal content, how to protect your privacy online and how to have image-based abuse removed. There are a range of resources available on the site, and I encourage every person to use these resources. In addition to this, the AFP's Think You Know program helps educate parents, teachers and kids about issues such as online grooming and cyberbullying and how to keep themselves safe when they're using the internet, and to use their report abuse button. Now, members know that I've given hundreds of cyber safety presentations to school children, and I am no longer surprised, Madam Deputy Speaker, at what the children are doing online. One of the reasons I'm so supportive of this bill is that I actually know firsthand that children are going to meet people in person that they have only met online. How do I know? Because I ask them, and they say so. In one class alone, 7 11-year-olds had the courage to admit to me that they are doing exactly that. 11. And when my office received a phone call from a mother of an 11-year-old girl who, after listening to my presentation, went home to say, I realised I'm being groomed online for sex, at 11. So I'm deeply concerned. I am deeply concerned at the sheer number of primary and early high school age young people who actually admit to meeting people in person whom they've only met online. In my most recent classes of year 8s, there was 6 and 8 in each class who had the courage to admit that. So, our kids love the internet. They love their devices. It's their world. And they are brilliant with technology. And probably that's why I'm out there saying to them, this is how to help keep yourself safe, so that you know this is their world. They love it. They're great with the technology. They need to know who to go to when they need help, when they need to know about the online risks and challenges. With research showing that 92% of teens are online daily, including 24% who say they are online almost constantly, and the kids tell me they've got their devices 24/7, protection and deterrence are essential. I know why this legislation is so important, and I hear directly from young people what's going on online. And the bill is the next step the government is taking to protect Australian children from those who would seek to do them harm online. It won't be the last step, Madam Deputy Speaker. And this bill's purpose is the prevention of harm and exploitation of children. It improves protection of children by creating a new offence that complements existing online child sex offences for preparatory conduct. These will include grooming or procuring a child for sexual activity. The bill also extends the criminalisation of the use of the internet and social media as a forum for predators to groom or procure our children to engage in sexual activity to a broader range of conduct. This offence builds on the proactive policing of online sexual offences, allowing law enforcement to take action against online predators sooner and with greater consequences. And very good that is, Madam Deputy Speaker. The bill introduces a tough new offence, and I am very happy about that criminalises acts done using a carriage service, any of the devices, to prepare, plan, to cause harm to procure or engage in sexual activity with a child, that's someone under the age of 16. It will allow intervention by law enforcement agencies prior to sexual activity or other harm. People found guilty of this, and I hope they're found guilty, those who are doing it, may now be punished by up to 10 years imprisonment. Importantly, this will also include those who misrepresent their age, like Gary Francis Newman and all the rest out there doing this. Madam Deputy Speaker, I know from discussing this issue with local and federal police that they are particularly concerned about children's safety online. This year, as I said, represents the 10th anniversary of Carly's death, and this legislation that we're debating today is really Carly's and her mother's amazing legacy. Her mother, Sonia, has put an enormous amount of energy into the Carly Ryan Foundation, and I pay tribute to her for that. And I want to mention Carly's quilt that we saw here in the Parliament recently, and I was with Minister Keenan at that launch. To see the beautiful hearts on that quilt that were made out of Carly's clothing was profoundly moving, and great courage by Sonia to tell her story at that gathering. And given the rapid changes in technology and the way that the predators are using it, as I said, this will not be the last piece of legislation to come before this House. And Madam Deputy Speaker, this is very important legislation to help with the online protection of our children. I do want to congratulate the Minister and the Government for bringing this into the Parliament, but I do want to encourage parents. I do parent presentations as well. And I want to encourage parents to be involved before the first device is given to your child. And I'm disturbed at the age that young people have access to the internet. And I met a little girl of 3 who was allowed to download things from the internet. So the age is getting younger and younger. And so legislation like this is even more important than ever, given the age of these young people. And of course, Madam Deputy Speaker, young people often don't want to admit to what's happening online. And I want to refer to the fact that frequently we've found that young people often don't talk about the sexual abuse they suffer at the time that it's happening. And often it's not until later in life where a particular incident then provokes that memory, or they then deal with the problem. What's worrying me particularly in this space, that of these young people who are going to meet people in person that they've only met online, how many of them are the victims of a form of sexual abuse that we don't know about because they're not talking about it? And how many of them later in life will have to deal with this, that will be a problem in their mental and physical well-being? So I see that as a latent problem out of the numbers of young people that I know who are going to meet people online that they've only met first online. So when I talk to parents, one of the things I ask them is, right at this moment, where are your children? What are they doing? And who are they with? And most parents can answer that question as to where their children are at that moment. But I do then make the comment that when they're online, that we need to be able to answer those 3 questions. We are not going to be with our children all of the time and all of the time they're online. And that's why the young people need to know how to be as safe as they possibly can when they are online. And I wanted to commend in my last moments the Commissioner, the E-Safety Commissioner, Julie Inman-Grant, and her team for the work that they're doing to help protect our children online. And I also want to encourage every parent and everyone in this House, if you haven't had a look yet at the resources that are available online, and the school in my electorate that got in touch with the E-Safety Commissioner and was able to have some very damaging content removed quite quickly. Quite often one of the most important things for the individual to lessen the harm and the hurt and the damage is to get the content removed quickly. And that is where the E-Safety Commissioner's office comes along. So, Mr Deputy Speaker, I am very proud that our government is being so proactive in this space, and I commend this bill to the House.